This is part one of a two-part podcast.
Put Paul's brain on your plot. Do you have a hunk of land but don't know where to start? Do you have a world-changing permaculture idea and you need some feedback? Do you feel like the guy in overalls may inexplicably hold the keys to all your wildest permaculture and homesteading dreams? Well, you're probably wrong. But if you want to give it a go anyway, you can hire Paul for a consultation. He will be all yours for a whole entire hour. Schedule your Paulversation today at permies.com/consult. permies.com/consult.
All right, it's going. I can see the little numbers counting off. That's always my indicator. So I'm here with Mud, Uncle Mud. We're going to talk about the rocket mass heater that was put into the red cabin. I believe this is the 5th rocket mass heater to be built in the red cabin. Let's see if I can remember. The first one was Minnie Mouse. That got replaced with the Cyclone. I think after that we did the 4-inch J-tube. Then we put in the Chimera. And now we have a 6-inch J-tube, which is in there now.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Did I forget anything?
Nope, that sounds right.
Okay. I do think that the Minnie Mouse that went in there was an early prototype, and when the Minnie Mouse got moved up to the Love Shack, Peter Vandenberg gutted it and then added a lot more mass. And that helped it. But it's experimental. And there are parts of that experiment that we enjoy very much, and there's parts that we don't enjoy very much. But we've since done the Cobb hat on that, and the Cobb hat has, in fact, you and I had a meeting, just a regular old meeting. It wasn't recorded, anything like that. We had a meeting about, I'm going to say, it was, I want to say 3 years ago, but it might have been only 2 years ago.
It was about 2 years ago. Yep.
I remember it was in the winter, and Magdalene was staying in the Love Shack. And she was saying that, like, she would go to bed and it would be 78, and then she would wake up and it would be 60. And I felt like that was too much heat loss through the night. And so there's not enough mass. And so you and I probably spent 4 or 5 hours hammering through a whole bunch of crazy ideas. And we ended up with,
try them. And then getting her to try them, some of them.
Well, right. And she was willing to try some, and, you know, but we kept going with the ideas over and over and over and over again. Like, remember the mullet idea? We had an idea we called the mullet. And you still want to do that. But I think the Cobb hat is probably number one. And so finally the boot camp took on the project of putting in a Cobb hat in the Love Shack. And the results have been excellent. Like the results are better than I expected. I thought we were going to see some improvement, and then we were going to have to do more improvement, because we still have a bunch of ideas to try on that to improve it even further.
Yeah.
And so, but okay, she was experiencing an 18-degree drop at night. And that was like when temperatures outside were like 28 or something, like a little below freezing. And that was too much. And so I thought the Cobb hat was going to cut that in half. But the Cobb hat took that down to a drop of 2.2 degrees. which I think is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we were going to get it down to like maybe a 9-degree drop, but 2.2 is just stunning. Okay, so Andreas has put a picture up, and that's I think the first pass at it, at the Cobb hat, and I saw that, and it's one of those things where it's like you talk about it 8 or 9 times, and then they go up and they build it, and then they send a picture like, see, we built it. And it's like, okay, here's all the things that need to be different from that. So I don't know whether I said it wrong or what, but I don't. So Andreas, as long as you're putting up pictures, do you have something that's maybe a more recent picture of the Cobb hat? Oh, there you go. And look, there's Magdalene, who did the initial test. So there's what we ended up with. And it's like, you know what? I want to sit here and spend hours talking about the Cobb hat, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. So
No,
how about if I stop talking about the Cobb hat? And even though I'm going to bring it up again here in a moment, but we're going to talk about the red cabin, the rocket mass heater and the red cabin. And so it's rocket mass heater number 5 in there. And it's because we do so much experimentation. So the Minnie Mouse was in there. It did fine. It did okay. The Cyclone was in there. It did okay in some ways, but it was unacceptable in some ways. And we took it out, and I believe, if I remember correctly, Uncle Mud, you are angry at me because we took that out because you loved it so. Am I close?
I was angry until I got to deal with the large soot deposits inside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just sad because it's beautiful, but it was brilliantly functional in certain circumstances, which is not good enough.
Yeah, we were pouring a lot of time into modifications.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and people were doing. Josiah did laparoscopic surgery on the back of it. Replaced its entire intestines. Yeah, it was given every opportunity, and ultimately there wasn't enough draw. Reliably, there wasn't enough draw to keep it from sooting up. No creosote, but a lot of soot because it just wasn't drawing.
I had like 5 more ideas on things that we can try.
Yeah.
To carry it through, but the bottom line is that if we tried all 5 things and all 5 worked well, then it's still, I think it would still fall short in ways. And it's a design issue. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's like, this is the Cyclone would be excellent for somebody where it's their only rocket mass heater and they've got 4 years of experience getting it to sing for them. It's
right.
Like trying to get somebody to play the violin well the first time they've ever played a violin. Is that?
Yep.
I mean, that's assuming that we did all the changes to try to get it to work better. So, all right. That was, so that's the second one that was in there. Then we did the 4-inch rocket mass heater, and that one worked okay. It was sufficiently a rocket mass heater. But I felt like it took too long to get to a clean burn. Like it would be about 4 or 5 minutes in until you would see a clean burn, and you'd have to do it very well, like lots of small sticks. But mostly the thing that bugged me about the 4-inch, is that I couldn't get my hand inside to get the ash out. And it's like, sure, we could make a thing that goes down in there to get the ash out and stuff. But boy, so I learned that my hand does not fold up into 4 inches or smaller. Another thing is that I think for it to work better, it really needed to be in a sand bath, or it needed to have the exterior insulated in some way. There needed to be more to it. So we got it to the point that it was working okay. But there wasn't a lot of ways to get it to be magnificent. And I feel like the red cabin, while it isn't our most natural building cabin, it is our most centrally located cabin. And everybody, when they want to stay in the cabin, it is the most popular cabin because it's just right in the middle of all the action. And so everybody wants to stay in the red cabin. And so on top of that, because everybody wants to stay in the red cabin, everybody wants to do their experimental rocket thing in the red cabin. So, I finally decided I don't want the 4-inch one anymore. And I know that's your creation. And so I pooped all over your creation. But I think you'll admit that while it was an acceptable performer in the rocket mass heater world, it wasn't glorious.
Yeah, we were trying something new there, that a wooden tiny house with a wooden raised floor, trying to get mass in there that won't burn the place down, and a functional rocket shrunk down that far. It was a pretty good first go. And then we tried boosting the size of the riser inside, over 4 inches we put the ceramic core in there, to see if that would, give us the reliability we wanted. But, ultimately, this was pretty good indication that, 4 inches just isn't enough for heating this space, and we're better off perfecting a 6-inch or even an 8-inch. But we wanted to exhaust that first, and also it was nice to figure out that yes, we can do a decent feed tube on a proper height feed tube, as you would say. And then we insulated it, but even with 2 inches of ceramic board insulation, that sucker got hot on the outside, which meant it wasn't leaving all of the heat for the burn.
I think when we built it, the experiment was, there were a lot of people in the rocket mass heater world that said 4-inch rocket mass heaters just don't work, and don't do it. But if this is such a tiny house, kind of tiny space, tiny, I felt like there was a possibility we could get a 4-inch to work. And I think we could. Right. We did. We got it to work.
Yeah.
However,
you know what? There wasn't enough heat left at the end of the run. I mean, there was no heat left partway into the mass. One of the things we wanted to see was whether a 4-inch could produce enough heat to run this system, and that 15,000 BTUs or 15,000 BTUs we were putting out, we were absorbing all of it in our pebble mass. So we weren't drawing even with a really gangly looking 4-inch chimney popping out of the top of the roof. It was just too much friction compared to amount of heat produced. Yeah.
I think another big thing is that, and this is where the Gamera, which was the next one, kind of failed also for this space. This is a cabin.
Yeah.
And so a cabin is going to start off stone cold, and you got all the stuff, because like that 4-inch system would have done perfectly fine inside of a tiny house where somebody lived there year round. I mean, once it's warm inside, like if it's 70 inside or 60 inside and it's 20 outside, it would have performed really well, exactly as built. But we had a problem, and that is that when it's stone cold and we need to warm the cabin up enough, warm up the mass enough because somebody is arriving.
Yeah.
It took too long, and part of that's because the wood feed is so tiny. Now,
yep.
We replaced it with the Gamera, and the Gamera had the same issue. It was like the Gamera does great at keeping a space warm, just like the 4-inch system did great. Now the Gamera was a little bit bigger. It took a little bit more wood, but still it just wasn't. And when somebody stays in the red cabin and they don't have experienced rocket mass heaters, I kind of want it to be easy and delightful for them and very effective for them. And that's kind of what we're talking about today. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get to the final thing that's there. But the great thing is we put in a standard 6-inch J-tube rocket mass heater. Now, I want to point out that the Fisher-Price house, while it's technically built to be an 8-inch system, the wood feed has been shrunk down to be basically the same size of wood feed as a 6-inch, as what's built here, what you see in this picture, a 6-inch J-tube rocket mass heater. So we can't put the amount of fuel that we put in here in the Fisher-Price house is about the same as the amount of fuel that gets put into the red cabin. So it's like it should be, because in fact, here we are. It's February right now, and yesterday the temperatures were hovering around the 20s, and we didn't even build a fire yesterday. We just kind of coasted, and then built a fire today. So having a fire every other day. So anyway, in this small space, this 6-inch rocket mass heater, I think should be able to get to the point that if somebody's staying in there, a half-hour fire each day will be plenty to keep that space warm. So, there's so much to talk about. So, all right, the Gamera's gone. The Gamera, we took it out. It just took too long to bring the space up to temperature initially.
Right.
So, now, this one, I mean, one of the things you're doing, so one of the things that you did with the 4-inch system, and you've done with many of the systems that you've built here, many of the rocket mass heaters you've built here, is you kind of have this habit now of you build the block. What do you call it? The heat block?
I call it the burn block.
The burn block. Okay. So you've got this burn block, which is basically a bunch of fire brick wrapped in some kind of metal to hold the fire brick together. And you kind of cut the fire brick to an exact size, which I think you did this for the rocket oven initially, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and we have video of that, and it's in the Rocket Oven movie.
Yeah.
But you've improved on it and polished it over the years. And I know that I've now looked at the video clip of you working on this many times now for this project, for the Red Cabin.
It does, I can see how you'd watch it over and over.
Because I'm helping with the editing process?
Well, you can call it what you want, but I know you like watching that clip.
Oh, yeah. I see. So, everybody is, so we're recording this with the idea that we're going to have some summary notes, to go with the build. And, so I have a list of things I want to talk about. First thing I think is important to say, I think that the first riser that went in this, you know what I should say? Is we took lots of video of this as we were building it, and a lot of people came out, and a lot of people, the enthusiasm and the excitement was powerful. And it had to do with the fact that, Europe was in trouble and they were going to need heat, and we thought we would build a simple, quick rocket mass heater, take video of it, post it to YouTube, and share it with the world so that they could see a good, simple, clean build of a rocket mass heater. And then everything went sideways. Step one, the problems of Europe were solved by selling them natural gas at a price 10 times greater than what they were paying before, and the government just paid the difference. And instead of them using rocket mass heaters, whereas if they were in a pickle, I think rocket mass heaters would have looked mighty good to those folks.
Yeah.
The great news is that a video came out from a guy in Scotland talking about how he built his rocket mass heater and how it has been a dream. And so that's, I don't know, I'm an American trying to help Europeans, and it's like, what the hell do I know? But there's an actual European who already built one, and it's been great.
This particular rocket heater, we went to pains to try to build it without using a bunch of expensive ceramic fiberboard, and have something that would work basically with very minimal resources, and it work in a tiny house, and it's really nice how well it's come this way.
We pushed some boundaries. And on top of that, we were trying to do 3 projects simultaneously, and which meant that each project, and we didn't have like 40 people here. We had like less than a dozen, I think. And so everything progressed slowly. It would have gone much faster if we had more people. But we made the best of it.
The people who were there were fantastic. Yeah.
That is true. They were really terrific. You can see all those people we're going to try to get all the video up on YouTube, but we'll have a drawn out, boring version available for sale, freaky cheap heat, as well. But, I think, talking about the design of this. So first up, I think that the riser that was built was possibly the best riser for people. Like we should take the build of that initial riser and just make a YouTube video about that, and then say, this is probably the riser that 80% of people are going to build. This is probably the best riser. Like, look at this as a default. Start here. Because previously the default that we used almost universally was the moldable ceramic fiber tube. But that, just the tube alone was like $400 10 years ago. I imagine it's over $1,000 now. And so it's kind of like, okay, that's prohibitive for folk. And at the same time, I kind of feel like the riser that was built during, for this build, which we ended up taking out for reasons, we'll get into that. That I think is like, that should be the default for everybody. Like, look at this, and there could be some simpler ways to do it. But that was an excellent riser. And so it's got a fire brick interior, but rather than just stacked fire bricks, it was carefully shaped. I mean, was it an octagon? Is that?
I think we had a hexagon. I think that was all we had room for.
So it was well shaped. It was well. I kind of think it would be great if somebody could say, oh, do you want a 6-inch riser? We will sell you the fire brick. That'll be the stack that you'll use inside of that. And now you'll have this really excellent riser. But because not everybody has the saws that I have for shaping bricks like that. And but I think it ended up so it's fire brick interior, and I think they're halves, right? Fire brick halves.
Yep. Splits. Yep.
And then it's wrapped in, I believe, 2 layers of the super wool. I think.
Only room for 1 layer. Yep.
Okay, 1 layer.
But that's all it really needed. It's pretty fantastic.
And then it had duct on the outside, like maybe it was 8-inch duct on the outside to hold the super wool and pinch the super wool onto the fire brick.
Yep.
I'm going to guess that the total cost of all the materials for making that is somewhere in the range of $140. There it is. There's a picture of it.
Yeah. Oh, he wasn't supposed to show this picture because it had duct tape on it. Paul doesn't like duct.
Yeah, I'm sure you pulled the duct tape off before, like as you wrapped it. Please tell me you pulled that off.
I think you'd like to be assured that the duct tape was pulled off, yes.
Oh, no.
Have you ever wondered whether a particular book was really good or just so-so, and if you could trust the reviews online? When it comes to books related to permaculture, Permies has a large list of reviews for over 100 books. Perhaps you're considering a book for yourself or a friend, or you're just curious about what's out there. Stop by Permies.com/book and take a look at the book review grid and read some honest reviews, and hopefully you'll find the next book to add to your collection.
All right. Don't build it with duct tape, people. Okay. So, I mean, you could put some duct tape on it to hold it in place until you get the rest of it there.
It'll burn off just fine or take it off as you go up, but it makes a huge difference in being able to hold it together. But, burn it
off. Please remove it before you heat it.
You'll love that duct tape smell.
Oh. Don't. Okay, people, don't put. Oh. Okay. All right. Moving on.
There are better ways. Yeah.
That riser was amazing. That riser was awesome, and that should be the default of what we look at today. Like, okay, because basically everything we are doing is to try to come up with a cheaper version than that ceramic fiber molded tube, cheaper.
And also we still have concerns that are unresolved about the ceramic fibers going into the air.
Really?
It's not as bad. Yeah, we should be slightly concerned about that.
I think
not.
I think it's fair to be concerned, but for me, it's like when I've been running some blazing hot fires, and then I pop the barrel off the one in the Fisher-Price house, and I look down inside of there, and it looks brand new. I'm thinking like, that's not putting anything into the atmosphere. So I feel like this degree of testing that we are doing, which is granted anecdotal, it is very much mitigating my concerns.
Right.
All right.
Right. But firebrick in the internal liner is very nice for mitigating those concerns and for lower expense and for being able to fix something when it cracks and be able to do it cheaply from materials that are pretty much available everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm going to guess materials cost for that riser $140. What do you think? Am I close? What's your guess?
Depends on what firebrick costs you. If you're $140, about if firebrick is $4 or $5 around you, I'm lucky I can get firebrick for 20 for $2 a piece or less. The main expense is time. That's an expensive riser in terms of time, but not in terms of materials.
So
and
for you,
a lot more durable also.
Well under $100 is what I heard you just say. Okay. All right.
Yep.
And that's a big part of why I think this should be the default for all of the things. I mean, we wrote that risers ebook. So a lot of people have read the risers ebook now. What? Can you not hear me? You're making a weird mud. What? Andreas, can you hear me?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, Mud, are you trying to say that you cannot hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, excellent. Yeah,
All right.
Let me get some volume up there.
Now, so we built it, and the draw was poor. But here's the beautiful thing about a 6-inch J-tube. We did some gambles. We thought, let's demonstrate tiny house stuff. So we used a 16-gallon barrel, which is a really small barrel. And in the end, I think it proved to be way too small. We just couldn't get a good draw going. It worked. It worked. Oh, not even okay, really. If we got it really hot, it would then seem to work all right. But it would take us a long time to get it really hot. And so then in the end, we decided so first thing we did is we thought we'll keep that smaller barrel, but we'll switch out. We found that we had a 6-inch tube. Oh yeah, there's the book, the risers book. I think that the risers book, I feel proud of the risers book. I think it's a very good book. I think and it's only like 40 pages or something like that. I think that by reading the risers book, you get such an excellent understanding of so much stuff that you are thoroughly prepared to build a rocket mass heater. I think. it has our latest and greatest. And on top of that, we had some of the greats in Rocket Mass Heater stuff come and read the book and put their own commentary in the book. So, I really like that collaborative style that we did with it. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna want to add this riser to that book at some point.
Yes. Oh, good call. Good call. And so we replaced it. We found that we had a 6-inch molded ceramic fiber tube, and so we put that in there, thinking that was going to fix everything because it would have a smaller outer diameter, so it would allow more gases to pass through. And of course, since it's our premium type of riser, then the whole thing is, if that's the problem, the whole thing's now going to work really great. And it helped. It made it better, but not better enough. So then we switched to a 35-gallon barrel, which really fixed everything. So then
stainless steel,
and it was stainless steel, so it throws off less heat during the burn than a mild steel, but that means that more heat goes into the mass and more heat goes to the vertical exhaust, which kind of brings us to our conversation today. Because at the very end, Stephen did a test. He started off at 50 degrees, and in 51 minutes he got it up to 68, and then he went to bed, and in the morning he woke up and it was 8 degrees cooler. And it's like, okay, there you go. Done. Mission accomplished. It burns clean. He went out multiple times during the test, during the burn, to get video of the exhaust, and the exhaust was very clean for the whole burn. And it's kind of like, that's a solid win all the way through. And so, and today we are recording this thing because I want to talk about how I want even more. And this gets into the space of, I don't know, I think there might be people that are interested. Maybe people are sick to death of hearing us talk about rocket mass heaters, but I'm obsessed and bonkers about this. And so I want to talk about what's next for this rocket mass heater. And step one is I want to list what I want, just for general want. And so while we gained 18 degrees in 51 minutes with Stephen's test, while it was a little below freezing outside, and that is good. I would like us to be able to gain 18 degrees in 30 minutes or even faster. And so, could we do it in 25 minutes? And now granted, it has successfully taken on its primary function, which is to heat a cabin, which is to go from stone cold to comfortable heat. And so, is it something that can be done in half an hour? And before, we were running a fire in there for several hours trying to get it up to a comfortable temperature. And it's like, this is not okay. And so we got to replace this. So now we got it in under an hour. We can get to a reasonable temperature. And I'm just thinking, like, I'd love it if we could go in there, and if we do a 45-minute burn, it's like over 75 in there. And so that way, when somebody arrives to the cabin and it's very warm, then they'll be like, wow, this is awesome. This is terrific. This rocket mass heater is really the awesome thing. So that's what I want to have happen. And I kind of feel like, all right, so let's do some tweaking to optimize this rocket mass heater. So I want to be able to heat that space, heat the overall space faster. That's one thing I want. The next thing I want is that it lost 8 degrees overnight. I'd like to get that down to 4, which we now know is going to be easy because of our the Cobb hat experiments up at the Love Shack. So I'd like to get so with the way it is now, we lost 8 degrees overnight. I'd like to get that down to 4 or less. I'd like to get generally a stronger draw. The draw right now is pretty strong, but I'd like to get it to be much stronger. I'd like to have better cold plug resilience. So, currently there is cold plug resilience systems in place. So just to let everybody know, the Achilles heel of a rocket mass heater, you get all this efficiency. You can heat a space with 1/10 the wood, but the trade-off is the cold plug. Now, granted, other wood-burning contraptions had cold plug problems too, but rocket mass heaters are especially vulnerable to cold plug. So what happens is if the temperature outside is the same as the temperature inside, which is going to always be the case in a cabin that's gone stone cold, then it's difficult to get a rocket mass heater started. All that efficiency gets in the way. So it currently has, so I don't want to get into specifics of what to change. I want to talk about what I want. I want better cold plug resilience. I want it, what's there now is acceptable, and I want it to be better. All right, those are the 4 things I want. So, Mud, do you have any other additional wants in this?
So,
I thought of one more.
I want easier priming. And
that's the same as the better cold plug resilience, or is it different?
Yeah, I guess it's a way to deal with the cold plug resistance. You also mentioned wanting to get rid of the shiny metal on the wall.
Exactly. That's the one I just thought of.
Yep.
I want the whole thing to be more handsome.
Yeah. So the of all of those things, I would also like to do the same riser, to try the same riser with even less expensive material, like to not have to use the ceramic wool to back it up with to have an insulated riser, because I like that internal lining of firebrick. I'd like it to be easily insulated with, ash or perlite or make whatever you've got around. So, continuing the strategy of making it more available to more people, I'd like to be using less of the high-end materials. And one of the things we didn't mention much was the sand bath around this heater that does both insulating the core and also storing a little and releasing a little heat. Not just the insulation. That also uses adobe and sand as its box, which is as utterly available as you possibly can get, and for cheap. So and also works with a tiny house. These are a lot of things that we've been able to do with this already. And if I were to be talking about what else can we do, I would say let's push that envelope more. How can we get the high high efficiency, the high performance, using less of the high environmental footprint products to do so, and maybe build something that's a little bit faster to build and than this one was. That lovely riser took a lot of cutting. So yeah, those are the things. Making it more accessible in design is to me the next thing. I don't care if it takes longer to heat up. In fact, I'd rather it took longer to heat up, because I'm of a strong opinion that most of the failures of tiny house rocket heaters come from people simply getting warm enough, quick enough, that they don't keep firing the rocket heater long enough for it to charge up the mass and keep them warm, and they wake up cold and they complain. So that's one of the things I'd like to see as well, is just to make it work better as a tiny house heater by optimizing what people are going to be likely to do with it to match the circumstances of waking up warm.
The reason why we're recording this now, because most of the stuff that we do, either we agree or one of us is kind of like, sure, whatever, and we'll let it go. But on this one, we've got a couple of things where we're not agreeing. And so we're going to record this podcast so we can get our kind of get our notes in while it's still relatively fresh.
Yeah.
And I want to, you bring up the idea of like, how do we get this riser cost down even further? And how do we make the build of the riser even simpler? And my mind starts spinning, and I think I came up with an idea. And it goes like this. First of all, do a square riser that's made out of splits. So you've got your firebrick riser. Then you're going to do like an inch of cob around it, but it might be, maybe it's just cob, maybe it's cob with vermiculite, or with perlite. And but maybe it's just cob, because cob, that is freaky cheap. It's free for us because we just use clay and sand found on site here.
Right.
Right out of the dirt. And so you give it this wrap of like maybe 3/4 of an inch thick of some fairly nice cobby kind of stuff around that fire brick. And then you kind of make a little bit of a cobby bowl at the bottom. And then you're going to take your metal duct and slide it over all of that, and then fill it with sand. Okay, so that's just a thought I had. But the thing is that the moment that you're moving away from that 16-gallon barrel, also known as a 120-pound grease can, you can make your risers fatter. And I think that's kind of part of, if you want to go cheaper, then make the riser fatter. And so I kind of feel like
to do there, yeah.
So
we didn't have the room for a 50-gallon drum, and we could not, for love or money, get a 35-gallon drum, which would have made the whole thing much simpler. We ended up with these 16-gallon drums that we really had to squeeze, and ultimately we squeezed too far. There wasn't enough room for a good for a good exhaust path in there. with a 35-gallon drum, there's enough room, and we can have a square exhaust, and we can put a little pipe around it and fill that with ash before, we don't even have to have vermiculite or anything. There's all sorts of fun things we can do, cheaper. But with a tiny house, there's just not room for a 50-gallon drum. If you can find a 35-gallon drum, hold on to it and don't tell anybody you've got it, for your tiny house, because that's a really sweet spot. The 15, the 20, the 16, the 20-gallon grease drums, you end up having to use like a 5-minute riser in there because there's just not room for anything else. And we go back to other issues with the 5-minute riser then. But yeah,
I want to share a thing which maybe I shouldn't share, but I'm going to share it anyway. It goes like this. Somebody heard about this project, and that somebody has access to barrels, a lot of barrels that they sell. They sell barrels.
Yeah.
And so they gave us a 35-gallon barrel because we're special.
A stainless steel 35-gallon barrel they gave us, which is like, if you go buy a new stainless steel 35-gallon barrel, you're talking $400 for a used one. I've seen them for $600 or $800 for a new one. But if it's sitting around dented, they get scrap value for them, and they were kind enough to ship it to us and let us play. And and it made a huge difference.
My impression is that they did this because they want to start selling barrels to people that want to build rocket mass heaters. So part of me is kind of thinking that, all right, this is working. It's working awesome. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. I want to plug them, but I kind of get the feeling they're not ready to be plugged just yet.
Nope.
And so maybe this fall, the fall of 2024, maybe by then they'll have a website put together and they'll be ready to sell these barrels. Cause I'm kind of getting the feeling that, well, you're right. While it's $400 to get this weird sized barrel, my guess is that they might make a couple hundred just for rocket mass heater folk. And then people might be able to get them for, I don't know, maybe $100 including shipping. I just guessed. I have no idea.
Yeah, if you can get your local, make friends with your local barrel guy, because or people, because there's if you can get a barrel that doesn't have the paint on it already, or even better, a barrel that's being recycled, where they've already taken the paint off for you using a much more environmentally friendly method than even the wrap it in clay newspaper and burn it method. It'll save you a lot of time and headache, and you'll get a cheap barrel. And if you say, hey, watch your stash for us, or in this case, this is a custom barrel company. They make all sorts of weird things for all sorts of people, and I can say, watch your stash and sell me something you were going to sell for scrap prices anyway, or I can say, make me something really nice. You want a copper barrel? Make me a copper barrel, because I want that patina. I mean, I'm imagining that would be, it would be probably very expensive, but it would be gorgeous. It would be absolutely gorgeous.
I don't think copper would work for our needs, would it?
Yeah.
At what temperature does copper melt? See, I think it melts fairly low. All right, let's set that aside for a moment. And let's, cause we can get into the weeds a little too easy.
Been there, done that.
I think another thing I want to talk about is that if you're going to try to have better cold plug resilience, one of the strategies is like if you're in a cabin and you're going to do cold plug, because like you don't have to worry about this if you're in a house. You just don't ever have cold plug resilience problems, cold plug issues. And so you don't have to. So it's really only for cabins and shops, teepee, any place that's going to get stone cold in the middle of winter, and then you got to start it up. Like if you have to start up from stone cold more than once a year, you need to design your system for that. And I'd say that the number one thing to do is to make the whole system less efficient. So that way, when you start a brand new fire and then it puts a bunch of heat into the mass is inefficient, so more heat goes into the vertical exhaust, which helps you to kind of get things started. So how a cold plug always kind of happens like this. You start the fire, everything seems to be running fine, and about 2 to 3 minutes into the burn, suddenly the smoke is not going the correct way and it's coming out of the wood feed. And if the smoke ever comes out of the wood feed, the whole design is shit. Like your design sucks if you ever get smoke coming out of the wood feed. Ever. So, I mean, the one exception could be if it's a cold plug and you didn't take the steps to mitigate the cold plug. Like you know you're starting cold. And then you got, crap. Now, I also got to say, I've had smoke come out of the wood feed in the Fisher-Price house, but it was because the house is sealed tight and somebody's running the kitchen fan at full blast. So now so what's happening is that the air that goes into the kitchen fan is coming out of the rocket mass heater. Everything's running backwards in the rocket mass heater. And it's, and so it's like, okay, we got to at least turn the fan off while I try to start the rocket mass heater. And you would think, oh, no one would ever make that mistake. And it's like, who's got 2 thumbs and has made that mistake 4 times? This guy. So, it happens. So it's like, why is it going the wrong way? And then it's like, oh, shit. So turn off the fan and then suddenly it goes the right way. Magic. Okay. So so general strategy, make your mass less efficient. And I know that we wanted to do an experiment here where when we put the duct in, so it's got the over and back duct, but we did do 8-inch over and back duct. And one of the things that I think is a great idea is that we take a big rock and then we kind of glue it to the top of the duct with cob. And the people putting it in there got a little carried away. So there's a picture. And it's like, they kind of made this big cob mass over it. That happened to have a lot of rocks in it. And I was thinking about 1/10 of that amount of cob, just kind of glue some big rocks to the top. But what they did was so efficient. I think I'm going to say that for a cabin, for a home, that's remarkable. That is brilliant. That's good stuff. That's a good design right there. But for a cabin, and you gotta mitigate cold plugs, I think our cold plug mitigation would work better if there was less cob right there. So the cob is more efficient than pebble style. At the same time, it's so efficient, it's taking out. So when you very first start the fire, it is very efficiently extracting a lot of heat from the first pass of hot gases, so that very little hot gases are making it to the vertical exhaust, and we're not establishing a real strong draw at the beginning.
Yep. So here's where this video is going to be interesting in a couple of months or years when we look back at it, because I'm going to disagree with you on this. I feel like the only reason, or the major reason, that we ended up with not waking up cold is from having more efficient capture in the thermal mass, and that if we give that up for the sake of easier starting, then people are going to wake up cold. And I like keeping a very efficient thermal mass and building a better priming port. And we'll with the experiments we run on this in the next few iterations, we'll find out which one of us owes the other a huckleberry pie.
And that should be another podcast to talk about how I don't believe either of us are probably going to eat any huckleberry pie in the next couple of years. But that's another story for another day. I think both of us are looking mighty thin right now, compared to a few years ago.
Yeah.
But, all right. Back to our...
This podcast is continued in part 2.
Hi, this is Mark. Sometimes talking to a friend or family member about permaculture can be met with a blank stare if it's all new to them. A great way to explain some of it can be over a card game using permaculture playing cards, which each have interesting facts with quality illustrations and descriptions. A wide range of people, places, and things, all related to permaculture, can be found on the permaculture playing cards at richsoil.com/cards.